We have an email question that came in. This was from Victoria. Victoria said, I was T-boned in November. I was offered a settlement, but the agent called back and said he made a mistake. He had kids and would be fired if I took that offer, and he gave me a lower offer. I never accepted, and now they keep fluctuating the settlement between the car and the medical, lowering one to raise the other. What do I do? You know, Brian, I don't know that I've had an adjuster say, hey, I'm going to offer you this, but now you can't take it. I'm going to take it back, and if you do try to take it, then I'm going to lose my job. I mean, it sounds to me like they're playing with Victoria's mind on this one. I don't know of any insurance companies that would necessarily do that. I mean, typically these adjusters are given a range of authority to work with, and it sounds to me like if this adjuster, threw out an offer, he's probably having some remorse on that, and he wants to take it back. So I guess for Victoria's, for her benefit, what if somebody makes an offer and then they pull it back? Can they do that?
If someone makes an offer and before you accept it, they are entitled to withdraw it. Now, if there's an offer and then you say, hey, I'm going to accept that, or you send an email, I'm accepting your offer, that's one thing. But if they make an offer, they are entitled to revoke it until you accept it. So there's nothing in that aspect wrong. Now, I have never had an adjuster say, I'm going to get fired if you accept this offer, I have kids, or anything like that. I don't think we normally deal with those types of adjusters. Once an attorney's involved, we, for the most part, deal with experienced adjusters. But with respect to the medical being somehow tied to the property damage, that doesn't make any sense. Your property damage is what it is. That has nothing to do with what your medical bills are, your lost income is, or any potential pain and suffering, loss of enjoyment of life, or anything like that is. Those are two different coverages. If he's lowering one and raising the other, that's an adjuster who, in my opinion, probably doesn't know what they are doing. You need to contact an attorney. Once an attorney is involved, usually those types of adjusters are bumped, and then we can actually talk real, actual numbers with an adjuster.
Right, we have a little bit more detail because I think there was a little bit of an exchange, and so there was some more detail shared with exactly what was going on in Victoria's situation. But like you said, Brian, adjusting the property damage claim and adjusting the injury claim, those are two completely different claims. They come under two completely different lines of coverage under the policy. Talking about property damage, those are generally fairly easy to resolve. Most people can resolve a property damage claim on their own. It's pretty common that when people come in to see us and they have an injury claim, but they also have a property damage claim, usually we're able to kind of step back, and the client can negotiate their own property damage claim, and we'll step in if we need to. But most of the time, the values of the vehicle are pretty straightforward. What they're responsible for paying, how much coverage is there. Those things are all known factors. And so let's say you have a 2018 Chevy Tahoe. All right, so if you want to know what your 2018 Chevy Tahoe is worth if it's involved in a wreck, and let's say it's a total loss, well then this will give you a pretty good idea. You go to one of these online car valuation services like Kelley Blue Book, NADA, Edmunds, Car Gurus, any of those online sites, and you enter in your vehicle description. You enter in your trim, your if there's any extra, what's the word I'm looking for? I hate when I do. If you have any extra options, thank you. Any extra options, leather seats, that kind of thing, it will give you a value. And then they're going to take a value like that, and then they're going to go look in the geographic region and try to find another 2018 Chevy Tahoe that is just like yours, and they're going to put it all in a formula. It's going to spit out a number, and that's going to be the value of the car. Plus, they're going to pay they're going to pay sales tax, and they're going to pay an extra amount of money to transfer your tag from your old vehicle to your new vehicle. So the concept behind it is, if we destroy your 2018 Chevy Tahoe, we need to hand you a check so you can go out and find another 2018 Chevy Tahoe that had the same miles, the same condition, the same features, the same options. That's the process behind it. And generally speaking, it usually works. And so it's pretty rare we have to get involved in a property damage claim. But in Victoria's situation, like you said, they're playing with these numbers that I think you're right, Brian. We're dealing with an adjuster that doesn't know what they're doing, or maybe they were just given some really unrealistic or unreasonable parameters to work within. But that's a claim that should be resolved on its own. Now, the injury side is completely different. How do you value an injury claim? I mean, what are the things that people ought to be thinking about, and how do we help people evaluate those injury claims?
Well, I hate to say this because there is no magic formula for evaluating an injury claim. If someone is injured and then they recover back to 100% and there's no residuals, generally in the state of Florida, you are entitled to your medical bills and your lost income. There are exceptions, but most of the time that's what the law is. However, most insurance companies will offer you some amount of money to get the claim resolved, whether it's $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 on top of your out-of-pocket expenses. Now, if you have sustained a permanent injury due to a car wreck, there is no magic formula. We can see what jury verdicts people award with similar injuries, but we don't have a perfect formula. We tell people what is reasonable based on the evidence, the law, and the risk people are willing to take. Some people are more prone to taking risk, filing a lawsuit and trying their case in front of a jury. Most people are very stressed out and uncomfortable with that. And so once a reasonable number is put on the table, they're advised to accept it, and they actually do accept it.
Yeah, it definitely is a process that varies from case to case, and that's why you need to get a lawyer that's involved that understands these things, that's been doing this for a long time, like we have.